It's time to relive great moments with former Cowboys.
Eddie, something with the all-time great.
You know, that's one of the great things in having the opportunity to coach here at Oklahoma State was the fact that you had such great people.
It's time for Where Are They Now on Triple Play Sports Radio.
John Farrell, former Cowboy pitcher back in the early 80s.
And, mostly putting up with me, I guess, after, chasing everybody around, chasing us around the country.
Where Are They Now? Our weekly talk with former Oklahoma State athletic coaches, players, and personnel.
Desmond Mason, former All-American player here at Oklahoma State.
So today, that's what I spend most of my days doing. For the most part is, in the studio trying to paint and trying to create, and I enjoy doing that.
It's like catching up with an old friend every Wednesday.
Boy, do I feel old today, as I always do on a Wednesday when we bring back some of these former athletes. We're talking with Houston Nubb.
Sure did. Had a great time. That was of course, my mom and dad went to school there. My brother, Dickie, as you mentioned, went to school there. And, of course, we both met our wives right there in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Now your host, ready to take a stroll down memory lane, here is Tom Dirato.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome once again to Where Are They Now? And as we've been talking about for the last hour or so, former Cowboy standout for sure, Mickey Tettleton, 14-year veteran of the major leagues and 4 different teams. And Mick, it's been a long time since we've talked, even off the air, but welcome to the show, and congratulations on your being named to the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you very, very much, Tom. It's great to hear from you, and it's been an exciting last couple of weeks for me, obviously with the Hall of Fame introduction and stuff. So it's been a lot of fun.
You mentioned to me in a previous conversation we had this week, and you look at the names going in this class. Holy cow! There's a bunch of who's who people here.
Yeah, I'm not quite for sure where I fit in when you're talking about, Bob Stoops and Patty Gasso, Will Shields, the great lineman from Kansas City. It's a wonderful class, and I'm just extremely proud and flattered to be a part of it.
Well, being from Southeast High School and being from the Oklahoma scene, so to speak, it means a lot, obviously. It's a State Hall of Fame and a State Hall of Honor. But the previous guys and gals that I've talked to over the years that are inducted into this thing, you may get a lot of awards down the line, and you did, but this will have a special place in your house.
Well, there's no question. And I stopped by there yesterday, and they took me for a tour around and saw some of the Cowboys like Robin Ventura last year who went in before me, golfers like Bob Tway and Scott Verplank who were in there. And it was just really cool to see some of the stuff, Coach Ward, see his plaque hanging up on the wall. So just to think that, you're going to be part of that. And plus, too, that not only the Oklahoma State guys, but just the other people that's in there in general. I mean, from Southeast High School, you mentioned that, Daryl Porter and Bobby Mercer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that Gerald McCoy, a lineman played with Oklahoma and with Tampa Bay now, I'm sure that he'll go in there at some point. But so we've got a lot to be proud of, not only from Oklahoma State, but from Southeast as well.
Isn't it amazing per capita for the state of Oklahoma? Obviously, we're not as big as some states, but the amount of greatness that comes out of the athletic community year after year?
Well, I don't think there's any question. I think in all sports, when you look at football and what basketball's been able to do, now golf is making a big name for itself. Obviously, baseball has had a tremendous legacy in the state of Oklahoma. So, like I said, I'm very fortunate and very, very proud to be a part of it.
Of course, you're part, and well-deserved, part of our Cowboy Baseball Hall of Fame. Went in class of 92. Having played here in 79, 81, it's hard for me to believe that, Mick, as long as it's been. Yeah. I mean, you never look older. I do, but you never look older. But I remember you when you was a kid. We were doing interviews when you were 18, 19 years old up here.
Well, you need to get your glasses checked because I look a lot older, and I promise you my body is definitely older. But it seems like yesterday, that we were playing Arizona State in the College World Series for the national championship, and unfortunately weren't able to do it. But a lot of really, really good memories about Stillwater, and very proud to, whenever you went out, you say you played at Oklahoma State, and to this day I'm still very proud of that. And And it's great to see that what Josh and his staff has been able to do is starting to bring some of that, the Cowboy toughness and the Cowboy winning ways back to college baseball.
Now, I'm biased, obviously, because I was around it every day, and I do bring former Cowboy baseball players on from that era because that was kind of the golden era. But when you look back on that, Mick, I mean, those were special years. Not that they're not special years still ahead, but that was a run that we made to Omaha. It was almost like everybody expected that was going to happen every year.
Well, yeah, and it was a disappointing year when you didn't get to Omaha. And, unfortunately, we haven't been able to bring home that national championship that has been so elusive. But, not only just getting to Omaha, but having 16 Big 8 championships in a row is something, it's a streak that does not get talked about very much, but is extremely difficult to do. And for what, Coach Ward and Coach Holliday, for the guys that they were able to bring in there year after year and just keep that thing rolling. I mean, it all started with that first class that Coach Ward and Coach Holliday brought in from Yavapai. And from there, it just kept right on rolling.
Those two guys, I mean, just off the top of my head, and it's hard for me to remember everything, but guys like Dwayne Evans and Billy Ireland, those guys came in initially. And I remember, I tell this story a lot, but the first time we played OU down at the old park was, I guess it's called, I don't know if it was University Park or not, the one right on the corner. But, those guys from Yavapai, they didn't know anything about Oklahoma. And it was no big deal to them. They just go out and play a game and kick their ass and come back home. And it wasn't a big deal like, oh, man, do you think you could beat OU? They just assumed they were.
Well, that was just kind of the attitude with everybody. I mean, I think that even it's funny now when I talk to kids these days and they look, Coach Ward, we didn't shake anybody's hand after the game.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not the politically correct thing to do now, but we weren't there to be friends with you. We were there to beat you and get back on the bus and go home.
You played with some great, not only great players here on a collegiate level that went on to have major league careers, but and I say this in a positive way, but characters. I mean, guys that I remember for different things. But one thing that was a barometer and a bottom line with you guys when you played here was mental and physical toughness. That was, if you weren't mentally and physically tough, you couldn't play at OSU.
Well, that started with Coach Ward, and Coach Holliday as well, and I think that they instilled in us that we go out and we compete, and we're gonna play you for 27 outs, and whoever has the most runs at the end of those 27 outs was good and fine. But they instilled in us a competition level and just going out and playing the game right, playing the game hard, and just basically a never give up and never give in attitude. You did not show defeat, and I think that was one of the great things that helped a lot of guys, even like myself, go on in a professional career was being able to build on that type of stuff.
Did you find yourself taking some of those things you heard in practice every day and in those locker rooms and before and after a game from Ward? Holiday was right there, but from Ward in particular. Did you find yourself taking that to your next level of employment when you got in the major leagues?
Well, I think it's just the never give up, never give in, don't show weakness, type of attitude is something that you have to have in professional sports in general. And, especially in baseball because of all the highs and lows, and you play so many days. And then obviously when you get to the higher levels, you're more exposed to the media and stuff like that. So they get to remind you how bad you're playing. But, it's just part of, baseball is a game about failure. And it's how do you handle the failure. It's not necessarily how you handle success. That's easy. But how do you handle the failure? And, I think what Coach Ward and those guys did, of course, we didn't have much failure there, but they just installed enough the toughness of, you just don't give in.
I asked you this a couple of days ago, and it's always an unfair question. I mean, would it be too obvious, the trip to Omaha, playing the College World Series? Is that the obvious answer, or is there any game in particular that you remember that has stuck with you all these years later?
Well, I think the national championship game, just the whole trip to Omaha in general. We won the Big 8 that year, and then we go to Oral Roberts and we're able to win that regional, and then just the whole trip to Omaha and the whole atmosphere. And I remember that was when ESPN was first starting to televise games.
Right.
And we knew we were going to be on TV and the excitement of that. But just that whole atmosphere, and then just the going into the last game and feeling really good about who we were playing in Arizona State and thought we had a legitimate shot. And, we just came up a little bit short. And, I'll just never forget Coach Ward standing out there and holding up that runner-up trophy like, hey, I'm really proud of my guys and what they did. But, the whole atmosphere surrounding Oklahoma State baseball. And then, like I said, I think the great feeling that you had whenever you left there and you told somebody that you played at Oklahoma State, that really carried a lot of weight. And it made me feel really good about being part of it.
And to be fair, Arizona State had some dudes, too, on that team. It wasn't
absolutely they did. Absolutely. And we knew we were in for a dogfight. Unfortunately for us, and I'm not making any excuses, we had to play a loser's bracket game against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it really cut into our pitching. And I think if we didn't have to do that, then we would have been a lot better off. But, hey, we still had to go out and play the game, and just unfortunately, we just came up a little short.
You guys have reunions from time to time. Do you keep up with some of your former teammates, in particular, any that you could talk about?
Oh, I haven't seen a whole lot of guys lately. I ran into Mark Poole, him and Liz a couple of years ago at the banquet. See a lot of guys doing that. I ran into Farrell, Monty Ferris, guys that I didn't play with but are alumni up there. And then obviously here recently I've had a lot of conversations with not only Josh and Rob Walton but Tom Holliday as well. So it's been fun. It's been fun keeping track of them and getting up there as much as possible, back to Stillwater and seeing what's going on.
Tell me about your feelings, Allie P. Reynolds Stadium. This is the last year. Knocking on wood, hopefully next year everything on target. We get to open up in the old Brate Stadium, the new stadium. But what are your feelings about that?
Well, I'm extremely excited for OSU baseball to be able to go into a new ballpark. I never played in the new Allie P.
Right.
Played in the old one. We still had the wooden bleachers out there.
Yes.
But a lot of great memories there. A lot of stuff that happened. As far as players that came through there and stuff. And it's going to be sad to see it go. But I think more than anything, it's an exciting time for OSU baseball to get the new facilities and keep watching them grow.
You bring up a great point because there are not too many of us still around here who remember the games we played in University Park with the wooden bleachers, and it looked more like a high school feel. Yeah.
Yeah, people sitting on the hill down the left field line and just wearing that third baseman and left fielder out for the visiting team.
And I think they still miss that a little bit right now, but anyway, it's a step forward, and there'll be all kinds of stuff going on this year. I won't say every game, but pretty much every other game there'll be giveaways and things of memorabilia to kind of keep Allie P. Reynolds Stadium in the forefront, even though we're looking ahead.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll ever, it's one of those deals. It's never going to be forgotten. It's just like, Gallagher Iva, whenever they made the renovations it's never going to be forgotten. It's just, they're upgrading, and, you got to keep up with facilities, unfortunately, in this day and age in college sports. And OSU's getting ready to have one fantastic facility.
You had yourself a really a solid career, 14 years in the major leagues, 4 different teams, and anytime you could be a 2-time All-Star and a 3-time Silver Slugger guy, that says a lot about your career in the league. Is it different for kids coming into the big leagues now than versus when you came in back in 81?
No, I don't think so. I've tried to explain to kids it was not easy getting to the big leagues. The hard part's staying. And, I think that's what kids, really have the hard time with is that, once they get there, sometimes they just can't make that transition over to being able to play in the big leagues every night and, just kind of the mental strain and everything else that's put upon you there. But, I think more than the home runs and, the Silver Slugger awards and stuff like that, just being able to say that I stayed in the big leagues for that long is what I'm most proud of.
You probably had fond memories from each stop, either Oakland or Baltimore, Detroit, Texas. When you look back on it, and you've had time, I guess, to reflect since your last game in the league, any one stop kind of stand out above the other?
Well, no, they were all really special. I mean, obviously with Oakland was where I got called up to the big leagues, and I'll never forget that first night I walked into Royal Stadium was the first place I got called up from Double-A. And this is back when you had Frank White and George Brett and Kansas City was just rolling, and I got there like the third inning. I'd gotten called up from Albany, New York. And I just remember walking in just thinking, oh, my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? But, that, having an opportunity to play for Tony La Russa in Oakland, and then obviously going on to Baltimore and having a chance to play with Cal Ripken Jr. and Eddie Murray and play for Frank Robinson there, who taught me, not only did Coach Ward, but Frank taught me a lot about hitting as well. And then, when I probably, most known for playing in Detroit and, getting a chance to play for Sparky Anderson and the great teammates that I played for there. But, probably the one that meant the most to me was playing in Texas because I felt like I was playing at home. And, I told people down there all the time that, except for those couple of weekends in the fall, the Texas people treated this Okie pretty good.
Yeah, and they liked it too when you could circle the bases after hitting one out. They liked you even more when you did that. Fans in all those spots probably different, and you talked about different personalities. You had La Russa, and being a catcher, I mean, La Russa, I guess, was doing the same thing at Oakland. He got into that, like, we're going to change situational pitchers right here, right? I don't care who it is. We're going to go to the pen. What was that like? Or did he do as much at Oakland as he'd say he did at St. Louis?
Well, every good manager that I ever played for really didn't start managing until the sixth inning.
Yeah.
And Tony was the same way. Every night or every day game, whatever it was, he went and got up in the sixth inning, went to the lineup card, and that's when he was matching up his bullpen in accordance to where we were in the opposition's lineup. So he was trying to get guys lined up, get his matchups ready for later on in the game, obviously, when you get to guys like Eckersley and stuff like that in Oakland. But, no, he was definitely doing that. He was probably, him, Dave Duncan, probably the most prepared staff, and that's not taking anything away from the others, but those guys were prepared every day and had us prepared every day with all the information that we could possibly have to play a game.
Back in the day when you were catching from that perspective, when you came to the plate with the bat, did you ever think that you'd have to face pretty much every pitcher on the mound that day who threw it 95 to 100 miles an hour?
Well, I don't know if they were throwing it 95. I know Randy Johnson was.
Yeah.
But, just facing guys like him, Nolan Ryan, I think it's like anything else. You just get accustomed to seeing it, and it just becomes second nature. And I don't know if you ever get comfortable seeing it, but it's just like everything else. You're used to seeing guys throw hard. You're used to seeing guys have really good breaking stuff, off-speed stuff, and it's just a matter of adjustments. I mentioned it earlier. It's not getting tough to getting to the big leagues, but staying is tough, and that's part of being able to stay is making adjustments as hitters to how not only certain pitchers but certain organizations are going to pitch you as well.
I could almost go back and play the interview I had with Jordy Mercer the other day about this very thing, and we talked about guys who just throw it 100 miles an hour every time you turn around. He said, well, it's not great, but if you're going to stay in a league, you have to learn how to get the bat to it eventually. So,
yeah.
And I think what you said, it doesn't become easier, but the more you see it, maybe the more uncomfortable is probably not the word, but the better you feel about it.
Well, it's just you just get accustomed to seeing it. I mean, Tom, I told an umpire one night, Randy Johnson was just mowing us down. We had no chance. And I told an umpire that a ball sounded low. And course, he gave me a couple of choice words and told me to get back in the box. But you know, like I said, it's just like everything else. You get accustomed to just good quality pitching you're going to have to face every night. I mean, the game is played so much faster and so much cleaner in the big leagues, and it's just something that you just get accustomed to.
What's the most interesting, and you can go any direction you want with this one, pitcher that you ever caught?
Oh, well, I caught Don Sutton. I caught Dennis Eckersley. You know, both those guys in the Hall of Fame. I caught Dave Stewart, all 21 of his wins one year. You know, never really caught any Cy Young guys or anything like that. You know, obviously some Hall of Fame guys. But, you know, I really, you know, I didn't catch anybody that had any real quirks or anything like that. There were some guys that I caught that I did a little more retrieving than I did receiving. Then those nights weren't a whole lot of fun.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, any guys that you can remember maybe that had an interesting comment when you went to the mound for a visit every once in a while, or maybe it was a one-way conversation and you took it that way and headed back?
Well, I know, you know, another Oklahoma State guy, Mike Henneman, you know, I caught him in Detroit, and Henny swears that I put down a sign and then covered my ears. Like it was getting ready to be an absolute missile hit, and I don't remember doing that. It wouldn't surprise me if I did it to him. But, you know, not really. I think that most of those guys, you know, they were kind of in their own program, and you just had to get to know the different personalities of each pitcher and work with them the best way you could.
Before we wrap it up, we had this conversation before you joined us. We were talking baseball, and we always do when I'm on the show anyway. But do you like now, and you're in the coaching business, but do you like okay, you're going to go 5 or 6 innings, I'm going to bring a couple of guys in the middle innings, then I got a closer, we're going to finish it out. You like that now, or is that the way of the world, or would you rather see a guy stick it out every once in a while, go 7 or 8?
Well, I would like to see guys go as long as possible, but the game has turned into such a specialized game, and, you know, there's matchups now. We were just talking about a while ago with Tony La Russa, and I think that you know, that some of the things there, I'm not sure you're going to see guys with a lot of complete games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they just don't allow guys to get their pitch counts up. They're concerned about arm injuries and everything else. But you know, I'm just not for sure you're going to see guys like Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson, people like that who threw hard, but they stayed out there, and you know, they were mad when you came and got them out of the game. And I don't know if that same attitude it still exists. It's simply because it's more of a specialized game. You've got left-handers, you know, in the bullpen to come in and just face a certain left-hander,
mm-hmm.
and then they're out of the game. So, you know, that part of it has changed. You know, there's other parts of the game that have changed too that I'm not real, you know, crazy about. I just don't. You know, I don't understand why we're trying to put a shot clock in baseball and stuff like that. I mean, it's always been a sport that stood on its own, and, you know, we never had any clocks involved. And, you know, now they're trying to speed the game up. And I just, you know, with baseball, you know, you could be out there for an hour and a half if you've got 2 good pitchers going, or you could be out there for 4 hours if it's a slugfest, and that was always one of the great things about it.
Got to wonder what your take is on reviews, and you talk about going over and checking the video reviews maybe 5 or 6 times a game.
Well, I don't mind it. You know, I think it's really important on some of the slides. You know, you can see that as well. The home run calls are going to be still tough. You know, I still like the human element in it. I think there's times when it is really good and beneficial. But you know, like I said, baseball to me has always, you know, stood on its own. It's just like interleague play. I think they've taken interleague play too far.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you shouldn't be playing a team from the National League in September.
Yeah.
You should be playing a team within your own division. And that was one thing that baseball always did, but now I think that, you know, they've taken it too far, and I don't know if they can reel it back in. But you know, they're just some changes. You know, maybe I'm sounding too old-fashioned, but it's like they're talking about outlawing the shift. Well, that's part of the strategy of baseball. And, next thing you know, you're going to be telling pitchers what they have to throw in certain counts. So just, I wish they would just back off some stuff a little bit and let the game be. It's a great game, without trying to make it like every other sport that's out there.
Yeah, you and me both. Tell me about your coaching now. You're out there on the sidelines again.
Yeah, I'm at Oklahoma Christian. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a number of years, and Coach Cobble and Coach Lynn, the athletic director here, giving me an opportunity to get out here. I love being around these kids. I love being the teaching and the development. We started off 6-1, so that really helps matters as well.
Right.
But I am having an absolute blast at what I'm doing right now. And actually, there's practice going on right now. I got permission to come talk to you. So, like I said, I don't know, where it's going to lead me to, but right now I'm having an absolute blast being a part of college baseball.
I know where I'd like for you to lead you to, but that's out of my hands. We'll leave it at that. I'd be remiss if
that would be a dream scenario. Trust me.
You and I are both on the same page right there. I'd be remiss if I didn't let you brag about your son before we cut this off. Tyler is basically in the NFL now, but we remember Tyler, and I watched him probably 20 times when he was Ohio, wondering why in the world isn't he here. But nonetheless, that was just me. But I know you're very proud of him.
Oh, absolutely. And, watching him play some of those MAC midweek games is one of the reasons why I don't have a whole lot of hair left. But, no, extremely proud of him. He had a great career up there along with some other Oklahoma kids, Bo Blankenship from Norman North, Dante Foster from Guthrie. Had a chance to play in 5 bowl games. They won 3 of them. And just what he's doing now, he started off with some graduate assistant work down here with Bob Stoops at Oklahoma, and moved on to the Jets, and now he's going to be a quality control coach with the Cleveland Browns. So couldn't be happier for him and prouder of him. He's having an absolute blast doing it, and same thing with him. We'll see where it leads him, but right now he's in a really good position.
Hey, Mick, thanks for the time. Tell Lonnie I appreciate sharing you a little bit here this afternoon, and congratulations again on your induction, which will be coming up in the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. A great honor for a guy who deserves it very much, and I appreciate your time today as always.
Well, I appreciate it, Tom, and I'll be up there at Stillwater here one of these days, and we'll get together and have some lunch or something, and go from there. But it's been a pleasure talking to you again.
All right, buddy, give me a shout. We'll make that happen. I promise. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. Take care.
See you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
That's Mickey Tettleton, one of the good guys who come out of this program, and one of the guys who, you talk about a solid major league career for 14 years on 4 teams. And when we talked about his honors, he didn't even talk about it, but when you're a 2-time All-Star in the major leagues and you're a 3-time Silver Slugger guy, and you get awarded that says all you need to know about the kind of career you had. Plus the fact he was a pretty good catcher on top of that. Hey, we appreciate you being with us.